welcome in. We are just getting all set up to get class going for you, and we're so excited to be here with you. It is going to be an EKG party tonight. So we are logging on a little bit early so that you can find us and find the mainstream. And we were just saying hi to people on Zoom with us. So if you don't have the Zoom link, I'm pretty sure Michelle will post it for you right now in the Facebook feed. And yeah, we're going to be doing an interactive session at the end of this. So we'll be splitting up into groups so we can get to know you guys a little bit better. But we're really happy that you're here with us tonight on a Monday night. And Michelle will be monitoring the chat. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure we are live in the group so that we are in the right place. Michelle, you can see us, right? There we are. All right, so if you are live with us on Facebook, put hashtag live. It looks like Anne, you're in Zoom and Facebook. That's very crafty. Yes, Tanya, you can return, absolutely. So that's the great thing, guys. We're just getting set up. We're not even really officially going yet in class. We're just getting everybody tagged so they know where to be. But yeah, you can come in and out. We're recording this for the first part. So if you miss anything or you want to go back, no problem. You can just rewind. Yes, we are recording it. Absolutely. And you can just rewind. It'll be in the Facebook group for you. And that's the great news. Okay. So the second part of it, which we're going to break out into small groups and do the workbook together, that's not going to be recorded because we're in different groups, but the main lesson will be. And so don't even sweat it. Says you need permission. Oh, you can't record, I don't think, but I'm recording and it will be in the group. So you'll have access to it that way. Melissa Mainville's here with us. Yay, Heidi's here. And welcome in. And Tanya, you're using the chat feature. We love it. And please, if you guys have any other questions, don't hesitate to ask. We love your questions a lot. So welcome in, everybody. All right, I'm going to try and get my screen shared so whether we're right on time, we can be mindful of your time. And yeah, so let's get cooking. So I think this slide is a little bit blurry. I apologize. I think I didn't Photoshop it right, but welcome in. You're in the right place. We're in the 3-day EKG challenge. And so just to let you know how this is going to go, we're going to do 3 nights in a row together where we're going to do basic things, right? So if you're a student, this is the right place for you. If you need to brush up, this is the right place for you, right? Or if you're already seasoned and you just want to get a refresher, a lot of people said that was the case for them. Awesome, right? That's a great place for you to be. And I just want to say a special thank you to those of you who are live tonight. We really appreciate you being here and taking time to learn this stuff to be better for your patients. We are so stoked. So let me go ahead now that we're officially started at 5:30 PST. All the classes will be at 5:30 PST the next couple nights. And I'm your host, Jen Carlquist. I'm the one that invited you here, but I do have a co-host. And our co-host is Michelle Barkley. And she couldn't be a better co-host. Michelle, do you want to say hi to everybody? I think you're on mute still.
There we go. I should be coming on mute now. Okay. Yes. Hey, guys. I was just in the EKG Launchpad group, and we did a class this evening that we did a treasure hunt, which was a game, because if anybody's been around, I love the games. And so it's a new one we played tonight. So I had a couple of people on and we played that, and also did some drawing. So there's lots of stuff that we do in this group. Everything's a little bit different. We all teach a little bit different. I'm just one of the coaches.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but Michelle has a skeleton behind her that she used.
There's Skelly.
We named it Skelly. So Michelle's really kind of our fun hostess, and she's great. So if I'm ever on live, please message her if you have questions, because I won't see them, and she'll be monitoring our chat. So thank you for being here, Michelle. Michelle is a nurse of over 36 years, right? 36?
Yes, 36.
Yeah. So you have like no experience at all, but somehow with her vast experience, she brings to us humility, and there's no dumb questions. So just want to get that right off the bat, that this is a nurturing group and we are here to help you win. That is like our mission in life, and we all like minded. Yay. So Michelle, if anybody comes off mute and they have noise, if you don't mind muting them for me, or Ruben, but we're putting the Zoom link. So hop on Zoom with us if you're in Facebook, because we really want you to be on Zoom this time, because we're going to do breakout sessions tonight and Wednesday night. And that's where we can't record. So you will miss that if you don't come on Zoom. So we really want you to come on Zoom. We also have in the chat on Facebook and Zoom, we have our concierge, Tori, who is a lovely human being. And she has your workbook for you and anything else that you need tonight. She can get it to you. So don't hesitate to ask her any questions as well. So who am I? Again, I'm Jen Carlquist. I'm a physician assistant and I work in cardiology and hello, Julian or Julene. I work in cardiology and the emergency room. And I've been doing that for 14 years. But prior to that, I was a paramedic for 13 years. So I bring to you the knowledge of feeling very overwhelmed, of being scared of EKGs and somehow crawling through that. And I hope to bring you all through to the other side with me, with giving you some basics over this challenge. So I love the movie Top Gun. How many Top Gun fans do we have here? Type in the chat if you guys are Top Gun fans. Because I'm trying to be the EKG pilot, so to speak. Lisa, yes, Lisa's a Top Gun fan. Awesome. So that's what we're going to do is we're going to kind of guide you through learning the landscape. Okay. So our mission tonight, should you choose to accept, is to just hang in there and participate if you can and if you're up for it. And we love to see your faces. And Melissa says EKGs can be so scary. That's right, Melissa? Okay, so questions. A lot of people have been asking right before we hopped on, if there's a class and I can't be there because I'm working or I have to go, how can I watch it? Well, the great news is that we're going to take this class from tonight and put it up in the guide section, and you'll be able to see and rewatch it there. The first part anyway, where we're not in the breakout sessions. So you can watch those replays, no sweat, okay? And if you need a workbook, you just type in the chat workbook and we'll get it right to you. We do want you to print it out. Looks like this. And we're going to go over the first few pages. I do have the answers for you. So I'll be posting that at the end of tonight. And is there any guests? So yes, actually, Esprit, she's already here, Michelle. She's already on the Facebook, but we have a guest. His name is Gary Krause, and he'll be coming on tomorrow night. And he's going to put on a bonus session for us right after mine, where he's going to go over live arrhythmias, so you guys get practice in that as well. So we have a fun-filled couple nights for you guys, and we're really excited. That was my dog, by the way, Remy. You might have seen him if you follow me on Facebook. He does STEMI with Remy. He does some practice arrhythmias for us as well. His name really is Remy because it rhymes with STEMI. People are like, is that his stage name? I'm like, no, that's his real name. And here's the session. Okay, so I wanted to point this out to you because this is tomorrow at 6:15 Pacific, would be 9:15 Eastern. I know that's late for if you're in Eastie. And if you are, this session, he doesn't allow us to record it. I know, but it's definitely worth staying up for and getting some popcorn. And Tori says she loves Remy. Me too. And looks like Julene needs the workbook. Tori will hook you up. So definitely try to make it tomorrow night for the bonus, because that one he doesn't allow us to record. But if you happen to miss it, he'll probably do it again for us in January. So don't sweat it. But it's really super fun because it's really crisp, clear arrhythmias, and he is amazing. Even Melissa's saying on Facebook. Now, I also wanted to give you a little spoiler alert. Okay, so this is my dad, and he actually passed this month or last month, and in honor of him, this is me and my dad, in honor of him, we're giving away a scholarship to our paid course that is coming up on this Saturday. It's December 10th. And so you got to be here live on the third night to be qualified to win. Okay, so just a little spoiler alert, that is going to be happening. So definitely show up live because you want to get into that class we're doing on Saturday. Okay, so I think that's all the housekeeping. If there's anything else, let us know. But here's what we're going to be covering. We're going to be covering through this challenge a 10-step systematic approach to reading 12 leads. We're going to talk about what the normal EKG looks like. We're going to talk about conduction in the heart and also the waves. So we're going to be talking about most of this tonight. And then I'm going to show you in just a few my secret roadmap to learning EKGs. So you kind of have a structured approach. A lot of you may have learned from this book. If you recognize this, let me know, the orange book. I actually learned on this book in paramedic school, and it didn't really make sense to me. So I realized I'm more of a visual learner. So what we're going to focus on is more visual stuff tonight. Okay. All right. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. But it's going to be a good thing. Adele says, sorry, not meaning to be sad, but like this is going to be such an amazing gift straight from my dad for the best of all the students, right? Like he's giving back even though he's passed. It's so magical. So who's in this group with us? We have EMS, we have nurses, and we all know nurses, you save lives, but you also save providers. Let's just like be real about that. So many times nurses have saved my behind. Nurse practitioners and PAs, right? We have to know this because sports physicals are risky, right? There's lots of things we can't afford to miss. So we really need to be solid on our EKGs. We also have EKG techs and we have students in here. So drop a comment on Facebook or in Zoom of which one you are so we can honor you and say hello. We have a various bit of backgrounds in this group and we just enjoy having all your different perspectives. So don't be shy. Now this is Michelle. She just introduced herself. She's our community manager. That's a fancy term for she's my right hand basically. And she is just an amazing teacher. And if you're in her small group either tonight or on Wednesday night, you'll get to see her in action. Megan, our cardio queen, she may pop in, and our EKG master, David, he might pop in as well. But we also have a lot of fellow students that have been with us a long time. So if you're new to our group, you'll see them in the chat. They're saying hi, and they always root on the new people. So don't worry, it's not a cliquey type of thing. We're just happy you're part of our family. All right, now this is me. I mentioned I do ER, and I also mentioned I do cardio. Addie's an NP, welcome. And I also do lecturing. So just a little hint, my favorite thing is doing this, is being with you virtually and teaching you so that you can go save lives. That is like the magic for me. Melissa Mainville, yay, RN. Okay, so this is, I think we have somebody honking. Do you see that, Michelle? Somebody honking? Maybe you can see what's going on with that, or Ruben. Okay, so this is my secret roadmap. So how to learn EKGs. So here's the start line, here's the finish line. This is what I recommend, and we're not going to cover this all, of course, right? We're going to cover what a normal EKG is, and we're going to do the basics with the waves and the intervals, and kind of a little bit on 12 leads night 3. We're not going to dig deep on coronary anatomy or high risk patterns or STEMI or mimics, right? But this is kind of the road that you take to get there. So we're going to do a little bit of that together and start building the solid foundation for you. Now, proof for you folks that have not seen me before that I really was young and scared. All right, this is me when I was a paramedic. This is my paramedic or my EMT partner, Frank, and he was so great. So you cannot tell in this photo that I am terrified, but I was terrified of the radio going off. I was terrified of EKGs. I was terrified that I had to know everything and there was nobody that was a higher medical authority on scene than me. And we didn't have cell phones then. Yes, I'm not old, right? But literally what happened, it was at this station. You can see that's part of our station right here. And I'm just sharing this with you because I want you to see that it is possible to get confident, okay, with the systems we're going to show you. But here it was, we had a little cabana that we stayed in. And you can see all the woods here. So it was this day, and I remember this day like it was yesterday. I realized like it hit me like a ton of bricks that it was just me. Like Frank wasn't trained in EMT and EKGs, and I didn't have a backup. And I realized the weight of that like sat on my chest. And I stayed up that entire shift. It was a 24-hour shift. I stayed up all night and I was scribbling in my cabana because we had separate cabanas. And I was like scribbling and I was like, okay, stop hyperventilating because I was. And I was like, how can I write down all the things that if I miss it, nobody's going to catch? So I sat down and I was like, okay, an MI, I have to pick up an MI. I know that. I have to pick up, but wait a minute. What about posterior MI? That doesn't show up on a 12 lead. How am I going to, right? So I was like, okay. Posterior MI, I'm going to learn how to find that, right? And I was like, what about, there's things that can kill young athletes. I better know those. The machine doesn't read those. So I was like, okay, what are those things again? Oh, HOCM and Brugada. And I was like, okay, write those down. I'm going to learn those. And so I took my whole list of all the things. There's a big list. And I sat down, and then the next day I was off. I got my books out because that's all we had was books. I don't think we had online then. And I was like, okay. And I figured out the patterns. And I was like, okay, if I see this thing, then it means this. If I see this, then it's that. So I like took little mental snapshots, right? Yes, this is recorded, Noli. Of course, you can watch it after work. So I took mental snapshots and I was like, okay. And when I started seeing them, I was like, oh, that's that thing, right? And I realized I could rely on the machine interpretation for only some of it. The rest of it I had to know. So getting good with the patterns is really the secret sauce. That really is honestly and truthfully how you get good, is recognizing the patterns. But before, you have to set the foundation, which is what we're going to do tonight. Okay. And so we're going to do kind of a 10,000-foot view of what are we talking about? Like, what is an EKG really anyway? And what can it tell us? I mean, I know that I'm supposed to look for STEMI, but what else can it tell me? Well, it actually can tell us a lot. It can tell us, so the heart, which is featured here, right? We have three coronary arteries that matter. And the three coronary arteries basically try to tell us what's wrong with them by making the waves look a certain way. So for example, if you have a really big T wave, oh, you have a lot of pain from shoulder surgery, you can rewatch, it's okay. So if you have a really big T wave that's pointy, you know that's telling you about the electrolytes. You know, if you have a skinny QRS, right, that's a normal QRS, it's going down the normal conduction system. If you have a blocked artery, it's going to make the T waves biphasic, or maybe the ST segment's really high, but the heart is always trying to talk to us. We just need to learn its language. It can tell us literally if you have fluid in your sac, between your sac and your muscle. It can tell us that. Okay, and we'll talk about how you figure that out. It can tell us the size of the ventricles. It can tell us like conduction problems, like plumbing problems, all sorts of things just from these waves, which seems really crazy, right? But the heart's trying to talk to us. So we look at the heart like a house, and feel free to steal this speech for your patients. But when I have a patient who comes in for cardiology visit, this is how it normally goes. Okay, they'll come in, they'll do an EKG before I get in the room, and it'll be a chest pain and palpitations patient, let's just say. Okay, so chest pain, I know I'm looking for STEMI. I'm looking for, ST elevation. Is it pericarditis? I'm looking for, anything that's life-threatening first, because think worst first, so you don't get burned. Hi, Wyatt. It's nice to see you, sister. So you're thinking that, right? But then I'll say, okay, patient, we're going to do a stress test. You're going to walk on a treadmill, and I'm going to do an echocardiogram to look at your valves. And I'm going to do a Holter monitor because they've got palpitations. So the patient will be like, wait a minute, you want to do 3 tests, but I have one heart. And some people almost think like we're like trying to gouge their wallet or something sometimes, right? Which I understand, because yeah, you have one heart. Why aren't you just doing one test? But then I say to them, oh, the heart is like a house. And you know how you have the plumbing in your house? So we have plumbing in our heart, right? You have electricity in your house. We have electricity in our heart. That's what we're measuring with the EKG. We have walls of our house. Those are the muscles, the walls of our heart. And we're always looking at how they move, right? Because wall motion abnormalities can mean the arteries are blocked. And we're always looking at how well the doors close and open. If they don't open well, that's it's aortic stenosis. If they don't close well, aortic regurgitation. And I can't see that on your EKG, sadly, as much as I love it. So we need to get more testing. And then they're like, oh, heart is like a house? Cool. Look at all the things you need to look at. And then they're good, right? But sometimes you have to explain, but this is a great, realistic way to explain it. So then you got to understand that there's waves. Now, Michelle, hopefully you can see the chat for me, but let's go through these waves together. So what's this wave called? What's this wave called? This one's called the P wave.
A lot of P waves popping up. Julie, Ann,
Awesome.
Cornelia. Yes.
All right. And what's this wave here?
Q.
Awesome. And this is the
We've got some R waves coming up, and everybody on Facebook's popping in too.
Okay, cool. R wave, good. And what's this wave here?
The T wave.
Nice. And what about this one?
U wave.
Oh, that's our Esperie. Hi, Esperie. See, Esperie's not shy. I love that about her. She will just bring the knowledge bombs for us. So that's a great review, right? So, and we're going to do this in our workbook in our breakout sessions. We're going to go over this together, okay? And we're going to do our workbook. All right, now, a couple of things you may not know. There is some rules. There's some rules about the waves that are very important. For example, okay, the T wave should be upright in all the leads except for 2 of them. This is going to be in our workbook. Okay, this is going to be in our workbook. The T wave should be upright in all the leads except for 2. Does anybody want to take a guess? I know Esperie wants to guess.
I do, but I want to give somebody else a chance.
Okay, well, come to our rescue if nobody else wants to play. We have some chat, Michelle?
We do. We actually have
We have a lot of V1s.
Parenbot.
Yeah.
Parenbot says AVR and we V1.
Oh, it must be Shinny. Shinny's been around for a long time.
Julie says V1 AVR.
Good. Okay.
So Soba says AVR V1.
You guys are all over it. So and Bria too. Bria's been around a long time. Hey, girly. So the P wave, let's go back to the P wave, right? It should be smooth. You shouldn't have a pregnant P wave, and it shouldn't be too close to the QRS. Your QRS should be nice and narrow, shouldn't be too tall or too small. And the T wave shouldn't look like it would hurt your booty if you sat on it, right? Because that would mean they have what wrong with them? I know you know, Esperie.
We have Julie saying hyper K, Melina saying hyper K.
Awesome, exactly. So peak T's are a problem and they mean hyperkalemia. So we're always watching out for that. Willie Mead has been in our group for like 3 years. Willie Mead's hopping on. Willie Mead's a medic. Welcome in. We love our medics. Okay, so let's go back and talk about these waves in detail, right? The P wave, I had an instructor when I was in medic school. She was a nurse, and I just cannot get her out of my brain. She just would say, sinus node makes P. Sinus node makes P. And I was like, what are you talking about? Do you have to go to the bathroom? But she was just literally talking about the fact that the sinus node makes a P wave. We always want the sinus node to be in charge. So it's an upright deflection, and you shouldn't have a notching. Okay, you should not have notching. And you really want the P wave to be there because you know the normal conduction is in place. And there's a saying that we have that if you can't really distinguish a P wave. Melissa says she loves a great P wave. Me too. If you can't distinguish a P wave, then you probably don't have one. Okay, and you're probably dealing with AFib. So that's something just to file away. Okay, so the sinus node, if it's working, we'll see a P. Now, here's our P here, but this is our QRS. Now, quick question for you guys. We don't have the boxes on this, but how many small baby boxes should the QRS be? It should be less than how many small baby boxes? What do you guys think? Michelle or Esperie, what do you see?
Soba saying 3. Morgan says less than 0.12 seconds. Kathy is saying 3.
Love it. So yes, you're all right. And then we have Melissa and Willie on Facebook. So yes, less than 3 small baby boxes. Okay. And if it's wider than that, we have to think about things like bundle branch blocks as an example. But we want it to be skinny, always skinny QRS. We want it skinny, not too tall, not too small. I feel like there's almost an element of like Goldilocks with the QRS. Like it has to be just warm porridge, right? Not too hot, not too cold. Okay, so then we've got, this is actually the P to the R should be to here. This is our P, this is our Q, this is our S wave coming down here. When we come on back up here, we transition right here to the ST segment and then to the T. But there is a interesting little phenomenon that I'm going to grab my pen. If you ever realized it, there's usually more than there's more of a T wave on one half than the other. So you've got a little bit more on this side. You should have that, right? It should be a little asymmetric. And this is the absolute refractory period. This is the relative refractory period, if you've heard those terms. And that just means that if you have an impulse on the last half of the T wave, that nothing's gonna, or the beginning of the T wave, nothing's gonna happen. If you have an impulse come in here, you can have bad things happen like torsades. That would be really bad. So you really want to know those terms. And the other term you want to know is when a Q wave is significant. Okay. And tell me in the chat, what does a Q wave mean? What does a Q wave mean?
I think you've got some people typing in ventricular depolarization. Melissa's saying the Q wave. Previous
And
MI.
thing.
Yeah.
Anne says if large could mean previous MI.
Good, good. So these are great ones, you guys. So here's the thing. A Q wave can mean previous MI. It can also mean current MI within an hour, because this can form within an hour. So we always need to look for these, and we don't want them to be too deep or 1/3 the height of the R wave, which you can see this is the R, it's cut in thirds, and you don't want it to be wide, okay? You don't want deep and you don't want wide. So it's really, really, really important to look at that. And if they meet those criteria, then they're pathologic, meaning bad. All right, this is what a Q wave looks like in real life. You can see right here, I've highlighted it. It's in lead 3, and it's also in lead AVF. So these are also called contiguous leads. I'm sure you've heard that term before. And the contiguous leads are the two inferior leads here. So the machine is reading this as possible inferior infarct, age undetermined, because it doesn't know when it came. So we said, oh, that's about 1/3 the height. The machine also knows that. So it's telling you, hey, we think there's an infarct. Now it's up to us to determine if it's happening now or if it happened before. Okay, so always looking for those. And then spending a little time on the T wave is also important. So the T wave that is normal is here. Okay, this is actually normal. And some of these belong in what we call T wave jail. Okay, so our T wave should be nice and upright in most of the leads. It shouldn't be too tall, it shouldn't be too small, and shouldn't look like it would hurt our booty if we sat on it. This one, if you look at it, it's too big. Okay, there's also some ST elevation. So we would actually need a 12 lead to figure out if that's bad, but it's probably going to be bad. Okay, we don't want ST elevation and we don't want a very large T wave. What's wrong with this T wave here? He is, how would we describe him? Or the ST segment?
Backwards check mark.
Yes, the backwards check mark. And that usually means you have a big ventricle, and a big ventricle is going to repolarize differently. But this isn't anything we need to be uptight about, right? This usually means the ventricle's big. We don't need to emergently do anything about that. It probably means their blood pressure isn't well controlled, okay? We can echo and figure out exactly if that's true or not. But this guy, he belongs in jail, and this guy too. So he is way too big, and he would hurt your booty if you sat on him. He is none other than hyper K. And this one here, the T wave is very flat. When the T wave is flat, it's most likely representing hypokalemia. Okay, so hyper, hypo, and people do not give hypokalemia a lot of credit, a lot of street cred for causing problems, but it needs street cred because hypo K, actually, when you have somebody with a lot of ectopy, like PVCs or PACs, you always have to think about the K. And so if you're in an urgent care setting or where you can get labs or in an ER, you want to absolutely get a K. If you can't get a K, and they have a lot of ectopy, you might consider sending them to the emergency room, just if you can't get emergent labs, because that's something that can be dangerous. Okay, so those are the T waves. We talked about Q waves. Let's talk about the interval for a minute. This interval is something we're going to use tomorrow night when we talk about arrhythmias, because the regularity, we use the R to R interval for that. And we're measuring to see if something is regular, if it comes at the next expected time. So we'll be bringing this term back tomorrow night when we talk about arrhythmias, if something is regular or not. If it's irregular, we start getting a little more nervous. We just had Carl log on. Carl's one of our medics too. We have lots of medics in the house tonight. So yeah, R to R, super important. And we'll be looking at that tomorrow. Now, Another thing I wanted to talk to you about real quick is a secret gem on the EKG. It's a secret gem. And the secret gem is the PR interval. Okay, the PR interval from, I should use a different color, I think, for that. So the PR interval is right here. And that should be between 120 and 200 milliseconds. Okay, so 0.12 to 0.20. And you can see that if you, what you have to do is you have to find one that lands on a big, thick line. We don't really have that here, but you basically want it to be no longer than 5 baby boxes. Okay, if you have something over that, you need to think about first degree block. If you have something shorter than that, there's a disease process that you should think about. Does anybody know what it is? A PR under 120? And if you know it, put in the chat or come off mute. Anyone?
You've got some heart block.
Victoria got it.
You've got WPW.
Victoria got it. Yes, Victoria. So if you have a short PR interval, that's one thing you should look for is a delta wave. So that's a slurred upstroke on the very beginning of your QRS. So in other words, what it would look like is this. I'm going to draw one. So instead of how this right here is nice and, oh, actually, let me use red. This one is like nice and like tight, right? It goes like do, right? But our delta wave goes like that. And this right here is what a delta wave is. Okay, so it's different than that. So you don't want to see that. So if you have a short PR, that's one of the things you look for. Hint, hint. Okay, so let's go back to talk about the segments. So feel free to come off mute if you guys want to. But what segment goes from here to here? This is the.
You've got PR interval, PR Kristen, Cornelia.
Yep.
Morgan. Yeah.
Good. Okay, so PRI. And then the next one that you have from here to here, this is called the.
Yeah, QRS, Morgan, Cornelia. Boy, they're fast typers.
And I love fast typers.
Willie. Yeah.
Willie. All right,
Steve.
good.
Yeah.
So what's this one right here? This from here to here. This is the most invaluable segment on our EKG.
You got lots of ST segments.
Perfect. All right. And then one that we don't talk about a lot, but we should, is from here to here. What's this one called?
My favorite.
QT. Yes, QT. So QT is something we got to keep our eye on, because if it's over 450 in a man or 460 in a woman, that's important because it's prolonged and that can lead to bad things. So that's a number you also want to know. 450 for a woman, 450 for a man and 460 for a female. Okay, so just plug those into your brain somewhere. If you want to just remember 460, it's easier because 450 and 460 in a man, we're not going to really do anything different anyway. But speaking of QT, let's do a case because this is the things it can lead to. I see a lot of people on Facebook saying sinus tach. Yay. Buffering in the country. Oh, the internet maybe. Okay, so we have a 51-year-old female and she has general weakness and calls the ambulance. For all you medics on here tonight, you're responding to this, okay? And the patient says when you get there, I've been under a lot of stress, says every patient all the time, right? Basically, because everybody's stressed right now. And this patient has hypertension and a psych disorder and chronic neck pain and takes Suboxone, I believe, or methadone. So she had some alcohol and did some cocaine, and then she called 911. So 911 arrives, and they find that she is in. She's in VFib. Once they get her onto the gurney, so they defibrillate her, get pulses back, and she lands in the emergency room. This is her door time EKG. Her door time EKG, there is a problem. And it says the machine interpretation, which by the way, if our coach David happens to pop on, he has a favorite saying that you can believe that machine interpretation about as much as you can believe gas station sushi is good for you. Okay. And so literally like you can't trust it, but it does say non-specific ST wave change. And it does say prolonged QT, but I specifically took off the QT because I wanted you to be able to spot it. Now, I'm going to give you a secret to spot this, okay? And her prolonged QT was the reason for her cardiac arrest. Her prolonged QT sent her into torsades and then VFib. So she got shocked, she got resuscitated. It's a fantastic story, but here's the little secret, okay? The little secret is, if you know that, let's just take this one, for example, okay? This is a family. This is mom, this is dad, this is baby, okay? So mom and dad and baby, we know that they should be holding hands like a little family. Mom and dad are clearly holding hands, but the baby, he's kind of running away from home. And the baby should not be halfway between the R and R, okay? This baby should be way closer to his own dad, not running towards the next mom. So if you see that, your eye should immediately identify that this is a prolonged QT, okay? So that's the take home on this patient. And she did have cardiac arrest because of her prolonged QT. We still have multiple medications that were QT prolonging, methadone being one of them. That's why methadone clinics get frequent EKGs. Now, this was her EKG when she came in off all her QT prolonging medicines. And you can see that it is now 441, which was normal. Her last one was like, I think 520 when she had her cardiac arrest. So when you get over 5 is when you really start to get worried. And we got her off all the meds, and you can see her T wave is a lot closer than it was before. Yeah, it's a good case, a good life save. So this is an example I just wanted to show you. Speaking of T waves, I know I told you, but I wanted to show you that, remember, the only two T waves, okay, that are supposed to be inverted are AVR and V1. Those are not following the rules. But you know what? Pretty much nobody's following the rules except for AVL. He's up. V3 is up. But look at all these bad offenders. Look at them. They're everywhere. You've got this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. Look at all these T waves behaving badly. None of these T waves should be inverted. Just these two, but they're not. So this is a sign that something is wrong. And in this particular patient, she actually came in for palpitations. What ended up happening with her is she had an undiagnosed cardiomyopathy. She was young, 30-something-year-old, who was a runner and had all these palpitations. She was going in and out of VTAC. And the problem is that her heart was too big. And when you have a big heart, sometimes you get these T waves like this, cardiomyopathy, and bad things happen. So the direction of the T wave does matter. This is why we teach this to you. Okay, so that's all the T waves. We talked about those, and this was a very sick heart. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about conduction, and I just wanted to really quickly tell you that what you've got is the SA, which makes the P wave. The electricity goes down to the AV node, which kind of slows everything down. And then you go down these beautiful bundles, right? You go down at the same time. So what happens here is you get slowed down a little bit, and that's where a lot of times, right, if we don't have an impulse going through here, it can go really fast. So if you had a WPW, for example, it might go like that. And that's why the PR interval is so short, if you ever wondered. Isn't that kind of cool? Now, speaking of conduction, we're going to talk a lot about conduction tomorrow, but I wanted to lay a little foundation for you in this, okay? So knowing that your normal conduction goes from the SA up here, down to the AV, down the bundles, let's talk about the hierarchy, right? So you know the SA runs 60 to 100. You know the AV runs 40 to 60. And you know that the ventricles run 20 to 40. And then finally, if you have an agonal rhythm, that's like 0 to 20. So let's see what that looks like. So let me get out of this and show you a strip. So you tell me, what is this rhythm? Who's running the heart? What do you guys think? Who's running the heart? What do you guys think? So this is a
AV node.
beautiful because there's no P waves, right? And so no P waves, but at a rate of 40 to 60, that means the AV is running the heart. Now, if that fails, the next guy in line is going to take over. And that's the ventricles. But what would we call this rhythm? This is called
Junctional?
This is actually a little bit wider. So it's coming from the ventricles and it's a little slower, right? Because it's about 20 to 40.
You have some idioventricular.
Yes, this is idioventricular. Yes, it is a hard one, right? But everybody thinks it's junctional, but you have to be skinny to be junctional, coming from the top of the heart. So this is an idioventricular. And then finally, the last guy in line to run the heart looks like this. This is a, what's this called, you guys?
You've got some agonal.
Good. Good. Okay, that's probably mostly our medics who deal with this, right? And you're not going to have a pulse. But this is the chain of how things go in the heart. So we need to know, well, who we're dealing with, who we're negotiating with, basically. So it's all pattern recognition, as we talked about. And I'm just wondering, we've spent about 40 minutes or so going over some basics, but can you see the power in using this basic foundation to build on? I'm hoping that you feel like you're the queen or the king and you're rising up your arms and you're like, yes, I can see the power in this, because we're excited. This is just the beginning. We have so much more to go over, right? But tell me in the chat, which one are you most excited about? So tell me in the chat, which one is most exciting to you? Okay. And I'm going to just shut my door. I'll be right back. All right. So which is the most exciting? So hopefully, what do we have, Michelle? Who's excited?
As an NP, Morgan saying, what is your expectation for your nurse EKG comprehension?
Good question. So I'll tell you this, and this is just really the truth. I feel like as providers, a lot of times we don't have as much time to really spend with our patients as nurses do. And I feel like, as I said in the very beginning, nurses really do. They're the eyes and the ears. They're with the patient. They're spending more time on the labs and everything with the patient than we are. So I feel like nurses have the potential to catch things that we don't. And even to some extent, right, if the MDs that we work with, or if you're an MD, like that you're so swamped. So nurses are just, I think, critical and pivotal, and especially if you work in somewhere like ICU, right? In the clinic, not as much, but again, I've had nurses, I've even had EKG techs at my hospital who've caught things that providers haven't. And thank God for that, right? We're all one big team, and the patient matters at the end of the day, not our ego, right? That doesn't matter. So I really feel like nurses should know this too. That's why if you were invited, right, I targeted you for a reason. I wanted you to be here because I want you to have the knowledge, right? So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Michelle, you're an RN. What do you think?
Well, as being from the ICU, obviously we needed to know this information, but we had telemetry techs to help us out, and we'd all sit around and talk together, and then we talk to the cardiologist. It's always been a teamwork effect. Never take anything on your own. That was always my thought process. I didn't want to drown on my own. So
yeah, I agree. And I just feel like we're like Michelle said, we're all big one team, and so we all contribute, and we can all catch things, and we're all safety nets for each other. I believe that. So we're going to do a giveaway, and I want to show you what the giveaway is. Okay. And then we're going to go into breakout sessions. So this is where Ruben, who is on with us tonight, he's going to move us into breakouts. And then when we get done, we'll all come back and meet, but we'll spend about hopefully 15 minutes in breakouts. But I wanted to show you what we're going to be giving away tomorrow. Okay. This is the RCAT badge. Okay. The RCAT window badge. And we're going to be giving away 4 of these tonight. Well, actually tomorrow night. Sorry, when we come on. But the hashtag to enter to win this, to be drawn, is just put hashtag EKG. It's easy, hashtag EKG. But this little badge is so fun because it measures intervals, it calculates heart rate, it has a red line in the middle where you can see ST elevation or depression. So this is a really, really handy tool, and we'll be gifting away 4 of those tomorrow night. And please put hashtag EKG, and we'll be drawing your names tomorrow. Now, for the main event, if you're on Facebook, please hop on Zoom with us because we won't be streaming because we're going into breakout sessions. And this also won't be recording. So please, Tori, if you can put the Zoom again in the Facebook group, because we have like 33 of you on FB, and we want you to get on over onto Zoom because we're going to go into breakout sessions. Okay. So grab your workbook, make sure you have it printed out. We're going to go do our workbook in the breakout session. So Ruben, if you don't mind moving us, we'll all be going into the breakouts. So we'll see you inside the breakout room. So I think we're waiting for people to filter back in. But final thoughts or final questions. I don't think we're streaming anymore. I think we stopped streaming a long time ago, but final thoughts or final questions, and you can come off mute or type in the chat because I can see the chat now. Thank goodness. Oh, we are live.
Is that we are live.
Okay, well, I guess we're back live now. So, okay. So any questions or final thoughts for the evening? Is Michelle on with us here? Steve, oh, I'm so glad you could make it, Steve. Yay.
Yeah, we're back. All my group is coming back. Yep.
Michelle, tell me, how did it go in your group? Because we had an amazing time.
I think we did pretty good. They were quiet.
Maybe next time, so you guys have to know something about Michelle. She loves to talk to you. So please do not be shy if you get her breakout session on Wednesday night. Make this a happy woman and talk to her. She's my people are not shy. So Sarah asked a good question. Hi, Sarah. Yeah, so here's the thing. We have a class tomorrow at 5:30 PST, so 8:30 Eastern. That's the same thing. We're going to be on. I'm going to talk about arrhythmias. It'll be shorter, right? And then we're going to come back at 6:15, and we're going to do the special guest lecture where we call it the EKG movie because Gary shows us like the heart, the anatomy. He shows us all these strips, and we get to practice, but it's not recorded. And then the next session on night 3, we're going to do basic 12 lead and do another breakout session like we did tonight. And Michelle will have half of our group, and I'll have half of our group. So you have to be noisier next time. Okay, so there's some questions. Let me go ahead and answer these. So Steve says, hopefully the gods of dispatch give me a window. I know we have so many EMS folks here tonight. It makes me so happy. I was just teaching at a fire department earlier today, so I'm loving me some EMS. Tori, if you're still on, if you could post the workbook link. Tanya says, before we end, can you please tell me where to find the recorded class? Yes. When it gets done, we're going to post it in the guides section under day 1, and it'll be up there. And is there a workbook for the extra session? No, unfortunately, it's just to watch and absorb. He doesn't allow anything to be recorded or any distribution of his slides, unfortunately. Can you repeat the T wave being asymmetric? Yes. So the T wave, symmetry versus asymmetric. Symmetric T waves are bad, and asymmetric T waves are good. That is the general rule. We do not like symmetry at all. Okay. So we can cover that more tomorrow. Will be another link for this class. I love your questions, you guys. So Vanessa says, will there be another link? Yes. There is a separate Zoom every night, a separate Zoom. And you can always find those. They're already up in our events section of the Facebook group, but we usually send them to you in Messenger. If you signed up, we send them out in the morning as well. We try to get them all over the place. But Tori just posted on Zoom a link you can click to get the reminders sent to you, and the Zoom links also, all 3. And then Jeffrey said, thank you for offering these courses. Had almost no EKG during nursing and been strictly trial. I know. Us too. Nobody really gets good EKG education. That's why we do this. We're here on a Monday night for you guys because literally we think this is so important. Okay, yeah, we're going to talk about biphasic T waves more on Wednesday, but they usually mean bad things. I'll tell you that. And thank you guys for being here. You've been troopers. We've been here over an hour. And we really appreciate you. Michelle, any closing thoughts?
No, I thought everything went really well. They seemed to really understand the questions. And of course, I had some heart voices. I had my hearts.
Oh,
Not all of the heart voices, just a couple.
oh, awesome. You guys have to know Michelle puts her heart and soul into teaching. So I hope you can go to her session if you didn't go to hers tonight on Wednesday night. But we'll see you guys all tomorrow. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Esprit. And thank you all of you guys for being here. We'll see you tomorrow night. Same time, okay? Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye, Esprit.